So one of the major objectives of the project, as Angie mentioned earlier, is to bring some of these historical materials online and to make them accessible. And I've described this project as a thematic research collection. The term's not my own, but it was a good term to describe it. We've got three main objectives with that. The first is to create a comprehensive collection of the primary source material related to special divine action, specifically the history, philosophy, theology, science debates, as people start engaging with special divine action in light of modern science. And to then contextualize that primary source material by putting it alongside contemporary scholarship, explanatory material, resources to help readers come in and understand it, and understand it not just as an interesting historical artifact, but understand it in light of contemporary debates and contemporary issues and questions. And then to join that up with tools for exploration to explore and understand the databases. And one of the core aspects of a thematic research collection that separates it from a digital library. So you can go out and you can find many of these works in digital libraries now, but there are a couple of distinctions. One of those is that we want to present this material not simply as a collection of books, but to present it with an editorial focus and an editorial discussion. Right? So one of the core aspects of this is that we're not just, here's your bibliography of these works, and here's a bunch of links to where to find them and read them online. Go make up your mind for yourself. There's some material to help provide an explanation of why is this relevant and why is this important. There's also, of course, the other editorial task of selecting what is relevant and important, which is really the responsibility of Tim and his team up in Western Michigan to provide that level of expertise. The other aspect is trying to not just provide an editorial voice, but to present this information in a way that's specifically useful to a particular audience. And in particular, we're targeting two different groups. One of which is we would like this thematic research collection to be a resource for scholars to find valuable primary source materials to go explore some of these authors and some of these ideas that have been underrepresented in contemporary scholarship and bring those voices back into the scholarly dialogues. The second aspect is targeting not just scholars, but what for me, as a technologist who's relatively unfamiliar with the material, sounds like the most daunting task of this project, is taking 2,000 or so historical books written way the heck a long time ago. I'm from Texas. We started in 1836 or so. That's about the limit of our history, right? So taking this material from the 16, 17, 1800s and making it relevant and accessible and approachable to modern audiences. And so assuming that I don't mess up the technology, we'll see if I can show our first, we'll see. There is somewhere on here, Chrome up and running. There we go. This is, so one of the things at the website is the digital collection itself. And I'll talk a little bit about this and then go back into talking about the project and where the project is going and some of the other resources that we're working on getting involved and integrated into the site. So we've currently got this up at a temporary address at Texas A&M. It's ultimately going to be hosted by the Bodleian for long-term preservation. And one component of this is the digital library tools, where we've got about 2,000 books indexed currently, and we're fleshing out some of the content that's associated with these works. So if we want to take a look, we're going to start with a guy named Woolston, who wrote a series of discourses on the miracles of our Savior, in which he argued that the miracles should be interpreted allegorically rather than literally or historically. We can't understand these things as actual miracles. So we can find out, we jump in, first thing we get is not let's dive in and read the books, but let's see a brief summary of what is this work that he's talking about. If we want to go in and find out more, I think one of the things that as scholars we all understand is that the books themselves are interesting and important, but we also care very deeply about the people. And so we've tried to take a lot of work into helping to explain who these people are, what are their contributions? What are the issues going on in their lives? So if we read a little bit more about Woolston, we learned who he was, what he did, what motivated him. We also found out that he went to jail over this issue. He was ultimately tried for these ideas and imprisoned and dies in prison. The other aspect of presenting this information and communicating this information is not just communicating the works themselves, but communicating the relationships between the works. And this is one of the places where I think the editorial perspective comes in most strongly. So we're adding, for all of the books in the collection, we're adding information about what responses were provoked or influenced by these works. So somebody might respond and disagree, meaning that they were provoked, or they might be influenced and move on. We can see that Woolston got a lot of attention. We're going to pay attention in particular to this guy that Tim mentioned, Thomas Sherlock, and the trial of the witnesses, so we can then link in and follow these relationships, bring up trial of the witnesses, see what Sherlock had to say in response, see who responded to Sherlock, so Peter Annett. So Sherlock is motivated by these four guys, and then this guy, Peter Annett, comes back and responds to him. Of course, ultimately, we can trace these trails and we can get this information at a high level. We also want to be able to dig down and actually read the books. So we have a variety of editions, some of which we have digital resources and digital copies for. So if you want to read them online, you can come in and peruse them online. And then as you're reading, you've still got information about the related works, so you could come by and pursue Annett and say, oh, let's go take a look at some of these other resources that are available to me.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible to view two books side by side actually online?
That is a great question. It is not at this point, but you've preempted my final comment, so I'll go ahead and make it. If you have ideas, suggestions, ways that you want to use these resources online, please come let me know, because I would love your feedback. We're halfway through the project, so we've got another half to go to take all of your brilliant ideas
and a related tool
and incorporate
one might suggest would be piggybacking both on his question and your last remark. If there's a particular response to a particular passage, you might want to be able to jump to and on that passage.
Yes.
So you could.
Smart links, yeah.
Yes, we do. And I'm not projecting. There we go. So to come back and kind of try to plot a roadmap for some of the other resources that will be on the site, we've got this digital library that we're working on. We've got books. We've got information about people. The next thing that we're going to be working on really in depth over the next few months is getting some tools to support visualization, because it's nice to have those bottom links so that you can trace relationships. The fact that Sherlock responded to Woolston and Annett responded to Sherlock, and then Sherlock eventually comes back and responds, and Woolston comes back and responds. Those dialogues are really obscured by trying to click links and follow them around. So what we want to do is put together some visualizations that use kind of all of these modern tools that have been developed around social networks and Twitter and Facebook to say, let's take those social networks that existed way before Twitter and Facebook and bring some of those tools to help make those relationships understandable and intelligible. We've also got this setup that we're calling, that I at least am provisionally calling the SDA Reader, and that is just like an introductory reader to theology, or an introductory reader to thematic, to the special topic of special divine action. So we'll have some thematic overviews that are currently being presented. This is an earlier form of that giant concept map that Andrew showed earlier, and as that grows and grows, I'm getting more and more nervous about fitting it onto a web page. But right, this is the table of contents to our reader. We'll also be including facilities to add book reviews. So if you want to, so instead of just these short little book summaries, some being able to come in and author a long critical essay, critical review of a particular book. Same thing for biographies, a discussion of the person's life in kind of a long form article. We're also developing a media center where you'll be able to watch the presentations. You'll see the video cameras in the back of the room. These sessions are being recorded. Sessions from some of the other conferences have been recorded. We'll be presenting those online via the website as well, alongside some interviews with key thinkers in this area. These interviews are going to be edited down into both like interviews with individuals as well as interviews along specific topic lines that really help, engage a broader audience and communicate this information to a broader audience who might not be willing to go in and read Sherlock, but who would be very happy to see a 5-minute series of video interviews with some of the leading scholars in the field, as well as some animations and some more explanatory illustrative material. And then the last area that is really in development is the Learning Center. And I just grabbed a photo off Google because I don't have anything on the website for this yet. We're still in the process of developing it in light of some of the lessons that we learned in Tim's class. But this Learning Center is going to be a place for people to come and find, first of all, introductory material for their own learning, get an introduction to the topic, as well as resources for classroom use. So we're looking at using some of the syllabus material, creating ways to help navigate a classroom through this topic for use in college settings at undergraduate and graduate level, as well as K through 12 or group studies. So you could imagine that you could create a short module for a course that includes some videos that we have online, some of the books, some of the articles, and kind of walks students through an introduction to a topic, read an article, and then go pursue these sections of these books. And so that'll be a resource that's up there for group study. And then this is my blank slide that says, please come ask me questions. Please come make your suggestions. We would love to hear from you. I can sit in my office down at Texas A&M, which, by the way, Ian, I am always happy to get out of Texas in July. Your highs are round about the wake-up temperature down in Texas these days. But just sitting in my office and designing tools that, hey, I like them. I think they work great for my uses and my purposes. What we're really trying to do is to serve your uses and your purposes. So I would love to hear from you and hear your ideas and hear your suggestions over the course of the next couple of days. Thank you very much.